You witness someone stealing food while you're grocery shopping. What do you do? Totally happened to me several years ago. I was with my daughter, 7 at the time, and we were at the checkout. This is at one of the old school grocery stores where they still have a guy who bags all your things and puts them in a buggy. While the cashier was scanning things, I noticed the bagger, an elderly man probably around 70-something, take a handful of the grapes I bought and slip some into his pocket. For a moment I was a bit bewildered since they had been weighed and now I'm short like half a bunch of grapes. I didn't say anything. The whole time I'm walking to my car, I'm having this internal debate about whether I should inform management or not. I probably sat in my car for the longest thinking about it. I decided to call the store manager and inquire about that particular employee, and said I was concerned that he might not be eating lunch or have enough food at home without mentioning him stealing my grapes. Turns out I was right. Post phone call, the manager followed up with me later, and the guy was literally having to choose his medication over eating. Someone in HR was able to help him out with affording it, and he got a nice little bonus. Not my circus, not my monkeys. As children, my younger sister and I had no food. She is 16 months younger than me, and from the time I was 5, I was trying to feed her, and I remember trying to find Coke bottles to have 10 cents towards something at our local store. At 5, I could cook eggs, French toast, omelets, etc. Side note, my sister won't eat any breakfast foods now. I did the best I could. She knows that. It wasn't my job to feed her anyway, but I am 50 and still feel that weight. Anyway, I stole food for us. I think our grocer knew. He just let us have it. 1 in 6 people in the United States deals with food insecurity. It is my pet cause, my local food bank. I helped set up food banks inside our schools. Foods kids could eat there and foods they could take home and eat. The literal only time I ever said something was the one time I saw some jackass walk over to the asparagus, rip all the heads off them, and toss the stalks back. That guy. Having worked at a grocery store, you see all manners of Thai behavior like that. People rip the heads off beets and leave them. They rip the stems off broccoli heads because that makes it weigh less. My wife one time told me about this as a life hack she heard about, and I glared a hole through her head. But the worst of all are the animals that rifle through a bag of cherries, eat one and spit the pit out back into the bag or display and just carry on with their day like they aren't a walking pile of steaming garbage. Wash your produce and don't be a sack of. Food is expensive, being considerate is free, ya cunts. Mind my own business. When I worked as a supervisor at a grocery store, a woman asked to speak to a manager and I came over. She pulled me aside away from everyone and told me she consistently stole a lot of food from the store because she was in a bad place, and told me she's getting her life together and wanted to confess. She told me I could call the police if I felt that was necessary. I told her absolutely not, and she needs food more than the corporation needs money. And if stealing was the only way for her to eat, then she did what she had to do. She started to cry and thanked me. I'm forever glad that I was the one available to come talk to her, and that I didn't get higher up leadership to deal with the situation. They're technically who we were supposed to call when someone asked for a manager. I hope she's okay. I think about her a lot. There has been one exception to me minding my own business, and it was when I worked at the same grocery store, different location, and this old man would come in, open up a granola bar, and eat it while making aggressive eye contact with whatever employee was nearby. Hate that dude. He was weird. Def felt bad for this lady. One time I was working at grocery store, they had the security go stop her and got police involved. She wasn't even fighting back, just holding back tears, said something in the words of she ran out of food, and was hoping to make something for her kids. Sim at that security guard. I know they can't let people take as they please, but I thought Jesus couldn't even send her off with a warning. Sim, imagine how much more that affected her life and her kids possibly. Where I'm from, the sad thing with these people who steal food is that they use all their money on hard drugs. So they steal money for drugs and steal food to survive. You try to stop them stealing? Get stabbed with knife or a drug needle. So no thanks, I mind my own business since they're often very, very violent. So their everyday life starts in the morning with no money, no food, no drugs, and they have to get like €100 money for drugs and then some food during the day, every single day, rinse and repeat. Former grocery store manager here. Depends on what they're stealing. Are they stealing an entire cart full of non-necessities? Alcohol, junk food, cosmetics, etc. Yeah, I'm gonna call the cops and I will press charges. Are they stealing vegetables, basic meats, and pantry staples? Yeah, I didn't see, and I wouldn't allow any of my employees to see anything either. On several occasions, I would coupon out some of the regulars who I knew were struggling to make ends meet. I regularly let employees take food home as long as they weren't purposely creating waste in order to take it home. I was in charge of security for the store. Literally, no one else even knew how to work the camera system, and it was an old system that didn't connect to corporate. If I didn't want it seen, it didn't happen. People need to eat. My parents ran a restaurant, and after service there would always be a staff meal, and we'd let the waitresses take home buffet leftovers. We noticed one waitress would always want to stay late even though she had kids at home and never wanted to leave early. She would also always take home a to-go box from the buffet. My mom realized why she was staying late, so started giving people a to-go box even if they left before we closed for the night. You are a good person. Used to work for Kohl's, and when I saw anyone stealing food, I just suddenly have to go to a few aisles over for an unknown reason. Thing corporate holes don't seem to understand is people need to eat, and people don't always have the money to eat. Most the time these people feel terrible about what they're doing, and most the time I'll make damn sure they got away with it even if they never knew I was onto them. Me and a few of the others at that store were ed over by management, and we're just there to help people. However, we could until a new job came along. Most days I'd be on customers and stock, they'd be on checkouts and doors. If they were only taking food, we'd make sure they got out cause most had kids at home. I stopped a kid, unattended, 6 to 7 years old, steal a candy bar because I didn't want them to get into a habit of stealing, and candy is not a necessity. At that age, they don't get into legal trouble, but CPS may get a heads up this kid is wandering out alone, and the family may get some help or at least being told it can't happen again. I should add I live in Norway, and if you're in need, you most likely qualify for aid. We are very naive and trusting, and I'd like to keep it that way. That being said, I probably wouldn't say, do anything, or offer to pay for it. As a former grocery store employee, I have to agree with you. I've seen people attempt to steal non-essential high-ticket items like alcohol, cosmetics, and expensive skincare creams. We've also had high school kids come in and try to steal junk food. My manager had me help him corner them, and when I walked by, that was when they began to make a dash for the door. Those are an entirely different story. Now, if someone was trying to steal food for their kids or pets, I saw nothing. Silently judge based on the food being stolen. Had a person come in trying to sober up by sampling bits of food here and there throughout our grocery aisles. Funny thing is, I watched them take another of what they liked and pocket it for later. I did call on them because they were being a nuisance. If they had just grabbed and gone, I wouldn't care, but they were just opening packages, eating some or all of the food right there, and shoving the wrapper or packaging back onto the shelves, making a mess of crumbs and food residue. I'm glad I found the open pack of tuna before it was too late. But anyhow, I didn't press charges, just asked for them to escort the person out. I didn't know how else to approach the situation. I never know if someone will turn violent. Offer to buy them groceries. I have been the person someone offered this kind of charity to, and while I had always thought I would welcome this kind of interaction, in practice it was humiliating. I was entirely caught off guard because in order to notice, he would have had to be physically following me, and that was very unsettling. It also felt invasive because I was minding my own business and trying to survive, and when you're in survival mode, you are trying to fly under the radar, and when that's interrupted, it can activate your nervous system in very unpleasant ways. Be very careful and try to read the situation thoroughly if you choose to do this. Walmart's net worth is estimated to be roughly $370 billion this March of 2023. Walmart has over 10,500 stores in 24 countries as of FY 2022. Walmart CEO Douglas McMillon owns over 1.5 million units of Walmart stock, and his net worth alone is about $240 million. The average amount of Walmart's entire stock in any store at any given time is between $1 million and $3 million. Walmart makes about $1.6 billion a day. Walmart also has the audacity to rely on customers to make donations to Children's Hospital Toys for Tots. and the Salvation Army. So if I saw someone stealing food right in front of me, I'd turn a blind eye. Walmart can afford it. Nothing. I remember when I was homeless and had to steal food from a grocery store. I got spotted by people a few times and they always looked the other way. I say I had to steal because that was the reality in that moment. I could have made better choices but didn't. I cleaned up my act shortly after though and try to help others going through similar things when I can. People who steal just for fun or because of greed are the worst though. I was in a grocery store last week and overheard two employees stocking shelves the next aisle over, and one commented, "Did they ever think if maybe they made food affordable they wouldn't see so much shoplifting in grocery stores?" And the other employee sarcastically responded, "Huh, who would have thought?" And that stuck with me. If I see it, I'm keeping my damn mouth shut. Not my place. If someone asked me if I saw it, sure, but to just come and out someone like that, nah. That happened to me before. A homeless fellow went into a Chinese corner market and filled up a bag full of cheese, like 10 bricks of it. I followed and confronted him. Didn't pick a fight, but just let him know I was going to follow him until I saw a cop. He ditched the bag, and I brought it back to the shop. They were super happy as it was probably $80 plus worth of cheese. If someone steals a loaf of bread because they're hungry, I'm not saying a damn thing. But that was just looking to steal and flip some high-value items into a drug hit. I'm nearly 10 hours late, but I'll tell you a quick story of when I snitched on someone. It was a small little store near my apartment run by a Mr. Kim type small shop owner to paint a picture. I saw a lady packing milk into her backpack and I wasn't going to say anything. Then it was the more expensive beer. Still wasn't sure if I would say anything. Then she started packing candy and a bottle of wine. Then at checkout I called her out. I didn't wait for that moment. I was 21 at the time and a bit skittish and got up the nerve at that moment. Mind you, she did not appear to be someone in dire straits. Store owner said they'd suspected her of stealing for a while. Gave me a discount. If it was a big grocery chain I wouldn't have cared, but I liked the owner of this little shop. Honestly, if you are going to steal, try to go to the big stores or chain ones, not the mom and pop independents that have such a slim profit margin where stealing does hurt them. In a city I was living in years ago, a woman stole a can of Spam or something similar from a mom and pop store, and the owner hit her in the head with a baseball bat to stop her and ended up ing her because he was verging on bankruptcy. More people stole from him than bought from him, and he took it a hell of a lot more personally than a random retail worker would. Bad situation all around. When I worked in a big-name grocery chain, we were explicitly told not to stop or track thieves. Not worth the liability for them. However, don't steal from Target. They have a ridiculous loss prevention strategy where they track thieves, wait for it to hit felony level, then apprehend. As a security guard, I can say I've never heard of this phenomena and have never seen anybody do it. When called to the grocery store, I certainly don't walk slower or tell them, the supposed perpetrator, that once they leave the property I cannot pursue, nor do I have the right to lay hands on them, as I did not see the crime myself. I certainly do not wander off as soon as possible and go tell the Safeway staff the same thing while recommending that they do not interfere with said things, as they would be the ones charged, as laying hands on a person is assault unless you say the theft personally and that the company doesn't pay them enough to get stabbed. Nor do I tell them the company is stupid rich while in general treating them like, and point out the fact that when they inevitably stop the wrong person and get shanked, that the company will do absolutely nothing about it. My local grocery store has ripped me off a lot over the years. Sale prices marked that don't show up at checkout, containers of berries labeled on the shelf as a pint, but the containers are actually 12 ounces, cashiers ringing up my cheap sweet potatoes as fancy organic, etc. I now do self-checkout and question anything that isn't correct, even if it's only a few cents. If someone is stealing from that store, good. I won't do it, but I won't turn anyone in either. I mean, if they are boosting dozens of steaks for resale profit like the Trailer Park Boys, then say something to security. Otherwise, I don't have a horse in that race, and I'd rather a big company deal with higher shrinkage than families go hungry. Yes, we all pay for it in higher prices in the end, but when you think about it, it's just a failure of a capitalistic society to begin with. We all pay taxes. No one should go hungry if we have exorbitant budgets for everything else. I report it because I work at a grocery store in management and do basically all my shopping there because of a combination of prices being mostly competitive with the other stores I am willing to give money to and the convenience of I am already there. Anyway, on top of generally finding theft unethical, I would be in danger of losing my job if I didn't report theft I observed. I can't afford that. I have a family to support. Maybe the thieves do as well, but their maybe having a defensible reason to steal won't outweigh my definite reason to protect my job. Sheesh, what a sad world. If someone sees someone breaking into your house at night, or stealing your car, or stealing your bike, should they do something? Or mind their own damn business? It doesn't have anything to do with them. Hey, maybe that guy who is carting off your new TV has invalid children whose dying wish is to watch Netflix on a big screen, right? You tell someone. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Yeah, maybe the store has insurance, but I'll guarantee you the deductible and the hassle of making a claim makes it impractical to do anything about a couple of $1,000s. And even if they did file and get paid on a claim, their rates would just go up. If you won't do it because it's the right thing to do it because it sure as hell affects you. Stores either charge enough to cover thefts or they go out of business, and you have to go somewhere else. If the store closes, employees lose jobs. No, I'm not dramatizing. Stores around the country have closed because thieves have become so brazen. And they become brazen in part because folks turn their heads. No, the thieves are not always starving mothers trying to feed their children. Starving mothers trying to feed their young don't steal beer or candy bars, sheesh. I was in Become Canada when the landslides cut us off from the major highways. Soon after it was flooding. I was in Superstore picking up supplies, as was every man and his dog. I saw a guy with a full shopping cart cut through the aisle and head out the door. I felt pissed off. Why's this cunt get to just leave without paying? I wanted to do something and noticed one of the register usher, manager, and told her. She told me not to worry about it at all, that it's okay that he just left and that I should be okay too. It really calmed me down. I was ready to do something, but she knocked some sense into me. And at the end of the day, she was right. There are food pantries, food banks, food stamps. There are a lot of places and ways to get help without stealing. Nearly every church in every community is involved in a community ministerial alliance to help people in need. There is no reason to resort to stealing. Search, look, and ask for help. Apply for any and all aid available. If you have young children, you would probably qualify for additional food benefits. If I see anyone stealing food, no, I didn't. I've been in such a difficult spot before that I stole 33 packets of ramen noodles just so I could have something to eat. If I saw this happen and decided to do anything, I'd accidentally drop a bill near them and claim it wasn't mine if they said anything. Hell, at one point, $5 was a make or break for me as far as getting to and from work. My parents owned a small-town grocery store. Small family business, their livelihood. And we learned how to discern if the person looked like they needed what they were taking or not. Teenagers shoving a bottle of liquor in their pants? We would have called them out on that, so I'm going snitch. Middle-aged women throws a can or two of Chef Boyardee in her purse. We wouldn't have said a word about it, so I ain't saying nothing. She's probably having trouble feeding her kids. Scream and point at the top of my lungs. Get the police on the phone. Use physical force if needed. Wrestle the person down and grab any money they have to hand it over to the store clerk immediately. Then make sure the cops are able to take the person to jail, attend their court day to testify, and push for the maximum sentence. Once they are in prison, go back to the grocery store and volunteer my time to catch any more shoplifters. Then start a YouTube channel that will propel me into being guests on daytime programs. And talk about my heroism. Walk down the red carpet amongst celebrities to help them promote their next movies. Receive the Nobel Prize, Medal of Honor, and dozens of honorary doctorate degrees from well-known universities. Then become world leader after successfully bringing world peace. Then pardon the shoplifter on their promise of working at that grocery store for free of charge for 40 hours a week. Then resentence them to life in prison since they had to shoplift again in order to eat, because there was no way in hell they could live working for free. And then run news campaigns on how if they just worked 80 hours a week, they could enjoy the American dream but are too damn lazy. Also, another time at Whole Foods in San Francisco, I saw a dude stealing and the security guard was following him around like playing cat and mouse, and I knew the guard was going to get him eventually. So I just walked up to him and I was like, "Bro, what are you trying to get?" And he was like, "I just want this burrito," and he showed me like a $10 burrito in his hand. So I just gave him the money for I was like, "Bro, you better just go pay them for this, they're on you already." Grocery stores are making record-breaking profits and completely scamming consumers with falsely inflated prices. People can steal all they want. I don't blame them a single bit. All my staples prices are now 150% what they were only a few months ago, with actual proof that these inventories and supply chains were never actually affected. It's all fake. It's all profiteering. It's all a scam. Steal what you want, corporations. And this is coming from someone who went to business school. I used to work in the deli at Walmart. This older lady came in nearly daily and would ask for samples. Always the same, every day. I knew she wasn't ever going to buy anything because she never did. I just started handing her larger sample sizes. I doubt she's alive now since this happened 15 years ago and she was already pretty old. I just hope I made that part of her life a little better. Same thing I'd do when someone steals anything else in any store. Stay out of the way, pretend I didn't see it, and probably leave ASAP. I'm not about to get shanked for doing free loss prevention for some big retail corp. If this was a small mom and pop in an idyllic Norwegian village, I'd maybe not be that worried, but in a larger city you never know when you run into people whose respect for your life is about as high as their respect for that store owner's property. Best to keep your head down. Not my clowns, not my circus. I would mind my own damn business. I used to work at a store. They had huge profits, wages weren't good, and they slaved us. Sometimes I'd have an idea that someone was stealing, but firstly, I wasn't paid enough to deal with that. Secondly, they didn't train me for that, and thirdly, they had cameras so they could just well bloody take care of it themselves. I just minded my own business, ignored them as if I had no idea what was going on. Funny thing was that there was a precinct nearby, less than 3 mins. I was on the till, so I'd treat everyone politely, and that was it. At the end of the day, theft is theft. Someone's property is being taken without the proper means of exchange, even if it is essential. However, if someone is hungry and they steal a loaf of bread at a Walmart, I'm not going to say anything, because if it were my bread and I had enough to where I had to throw half of it away at the end of the day anyway because they mold, then I wouldn't be upset. It would just be counted as waste. Spouse managed a big box store. One day a very tired vehicle broke down on a highway near the store. A refugee family with several small children were sitting on the grass by their vehicle looking a bit lost for a solution to their situation. Mom spoke some English and Dad remained quiet. They had been traveling several days to get to family in another state. They were broke and out of food. My husband invited them into the store, then grabbed 2 grocery carts and asked a couple employees to help the family shop for food. Anything they needed, no charge. The carts were filled to the brim. I don't recall how the car problem was resolved, but they had a lot of food for the rest of their trip.